What's up, R&B guys and gals? It's Enrique Lloreda from Enrique Lloreda Productions and the R&B Way. I'm out here in the balcony taking in some sun, and today I'm gonna be teaching you R&B vocal production with this song.
Caught again in my old ways, lonely, trying to make it feel alright. Don't know why, but it feels right. Sometimes, trying to make up my mind. I know you're away for some time. It's crazy to say that you're mine. So used to being on my own, but girl, I feel ya. Girl, I feel ya. Trying to find a way now, find a way now. Gotta find out a way for you to stay now, stay now. Just one more time, I can deal with it. Girl, you're gone and I'm feeling it. One more time now. Whoa, whoa.
Quick side note, if you're not in our Facebook group, make sure to join it. It's the place to be for R&B music creators. It's called the R&B Way, and the link is in the description below.
Alright, so first step in the vocal editing process would be to comp your vocal tracks. So once you've done a couple takes of your lead vocal, like you did here, check it out, many takes for different parts. You want to choose the best part for each phrase, put it all together, and consolidate it to one track. In Logic, you can bounce in place with Ctrl B. In other DAWs, it's probably Command J. But just consolidate your track with your best takes. Once you've got a track with your best takes, what you want to do is go through it, cut out any silences that are there, because it's probably just going to be room sound, low and rumble, nothing that you really need. Cut out the silences and add fades wherever you have a silence. Like here, I added a couple fades, because you want to get your vocal as clean as possible before you add any processing to it. Once you've cut out all the silences, added in your fades, made it as clean as possible, you want to consolidate it again, and then you're going to tune it with something like Melodyne or Flex Pitch in Logic, or the Autotune plugin, anything that'll give you a nice and consistent pitch throughout the song. I used Melodyne for this, so I just ran everything through Melodyne, consolidated it again, and now I have a perfectly cleaned up, edited, and tuned vocal track that I can go ahead and process any way I like. For doubles, there are two ways you could go about this. The best way, I would say, would be to go to your original lead vocal track with all your takes and just choose out two new different takes for whatever part you want to add doubles to. This is going to give you a much more natural sound because it's real performances of the same exact phrase, but with slight differences in timing and pitch. So it's going to make it feel a little more human, organic, and natural. The other way, if for some reason you don't want to go to the lead vocal and choose more takes, or if you don't have access to these and you only have your lead vocal track to work with, you can duplicate your lead vocal track and add something like Waves Doubler or Waves Real ADT, or simply what you can do is duplicate your lead vocal 2 times, pan one out to the left, one out to the right, and on each one of those, you're going to change the fine-tuning just a little bit, maybe a little above, maybe a little below, with any sort of pitch plugin. Waves Vocal Bender could be really good for this. It's a really nice plugin. And you might also want to change the timing just a little bit. You can do this with any sort of sample delay plugin, just making it come a little later so that there are some slight differences in timing and pitch between your lead vocal and your doubles. In this case, for time's sake, I just duplicated the lead vocal into a new track, added Waves Doubler. Here's without the doubles.
I'm trying to find a way now, find a way now.
And the doubles.
I'm trying to find a way now, find a way now.
They definitely add some size and some width to the vocals. And then what you can do is simply choose the parts where you want to add doubles. For this chorus, I just added the doubles throughout the chorus all the time, because I wanted the vocals to be really big. But if there are certain phrases that you think need more emphasis or something like that, you can just go ahead and leave the doubles for those sections. It's gonna give them a lot more emphasis, a lot more power. If your chorus doesn't need to feel super huge, it can be a really nice way of adding some dynamics and contrast, making some phrases stand out a little more with the doubles. And then, what I would suggest in processing for your doubles is simply to make them sound a little different from your lead vocal. In my case, I like to have the lead vocal be nice and bright, nice and airy, and then maybe cut out a little bit of high end on the doubles so that they're a little more tucked in to the sides, not standing out as much, but still adding a nice body and emphasis to the vocals. You can just go ahead and put any cue, roll off some high end. I also like to saturate my lead vocal doubles a little more than the lead vocal itself to give them a little bit more grit and aggression, especially since we're not going to have that high end. And I also like to tune my lead vocals a little harder. I'll usually tune them with Melodyne and then add some sort of auto-tune just to make the pitch really consistent and almost robotic sounding. Because when you have these vocals on your sides, you're not really paying much attention to them. But if they sound super consistent, robotic, like a full layer, like another instrument, it's going to make your tracks pop a lot more. And as I was telling you, the lead vocal double only comes in for the chorus. The verse is just the lead vocal and some extra ad-libs and effects. And then when the chorus hits, we have that layer coming in, making it sound a lot bigger. It's all in the arrangement, how you choose to use these lead vocal doubles. They could also be in the verses. As I was telling you, it's really cool to add emphasis to certain phrases. So if your verses have certain phrases that could use some extra power, by all means, go ahead and use a double for that. It could be really nice. And then if you want to add even more size to your chorus, you can just create another vocal double. Just make sure to change the fine tuning just a little bit. Make sure that none of the lead vocal doubles are sounding the same, because that's where you're going to get problems and it's not going to sound to the sides and big like it should. Keep in mind that when you're processing your tracks, it's normal if they sound a little weird in solo. Check it out. This is my lead vocal double.
I'm trying to find a way now, find a way now.
Sounds a little distorted and robotic, but that's exactly the feel that I'm going for. And in the context of the track, it works perfectly. Check it out.
I'm trying to find a way now, find a way now.
It just adds a little bit of size and width to the chorus, just the way I need it to. Here's without the double.
I'm trying to find a way now, find a way now.
So there are two ways that you could go about harmonies, probably more, but these are just the ways I'm familiar with. One would be to have them sing at the same time as the lead vocal, but with different notes to create some harmony in the melodies that are being sung. And the other way would be to make the backing vocals more like a pad, where they are singing long notes with a combination of notes that works like a chord underneath the lead vocal, if that makes sense. They're not singing at the same time as the lead vocal. They're singing long notes, and the lead vocal is going to be on top of that. In this case, I went for backing vocals that sing at the same time as the lead vocal, because I didn't want the chorus to be super full of harmonic information just sitting there. I wanted it to have more movement and emphasis on certain phrases. So that's what I'm going for with the backing vocals. So here's what I'm doing. First, I have backing vocals going on at the same time as the lead vocal for the first part of each phrase, and then I'm replying to that with more backing vocals that are doing something different. Here's what that sounds like.
I'm trying to find a way now, find a way now. Gotta find out.
So I got these backing vocals going on at the same time as the lead, and this is what they sound like.
I'm trying to find a way now, find a way now.
And then I'm replying with this.
Gotta find out.
Whenever you're doing backing vocals that sing at the same time as a lead vocal, you want to be aware of two things. One, make sure that both combined are creating a nice melody and that there's no clashing of notes at any point. There may be clashing, but as long as it resolves in a nice way, you're good. You just don't want to have a bunch of dissonance going on all the time. If it sounds good to the ear and there are some moments of tension but then it resolves, you're probably good. But if there's something wonky sounding, you probably need to have a look at the notes that you're singing in your backing vocals. And then you also got to keep in mind the chords that are being played in the song, of course, Make sure that nothing is clashing against those.
I'm trying to find a way now, find a way now.
Yep, that's good. No clashing. It definitely helps if you know some music theory, because it's pretty much just building out harmonies for a melody and making sure they fit in a harmonic progression. And if you're absolutely terrible at music theory and you really don't know how to make harmonies, you should try out this plugin. It's called Pitch Proof by AGN Music. It's free, and you can just put in the key of the song and then the harmony that you want. Thirds are always a really nice harmony, or fifths. Then just blend in all the way wet, and this is gonna give you a harmony of a third of whatever was being sung in the lead vocal.
I'm trying to find a way now, find a way now.
So as you can see, it's the same thing I was singing. This can be a super useful tool if you're not great at harmonies, so check out this plugin, it's free. And then in terms of what I'm doing to the backing vocals, I recorded 2 different takes of exactly the same thing and applied a waves doubler to each of those. So I'm making 4 backing vocals out of 2. This is the first one.
Trying to find a way now, find a way now.
This is the second one.
Trying to find a way now, find a way now.
Same thing. And when they're combined.
Trying to find a way now, find a way now.
And for backing vocals, as I mentioned before, I also like to add in some of that auto-tune effect. You can hear like some little glitchiness there, but in the context of the mix, you're never going to be able to hear that. And then as the chorus moves on, I'm just doing the same thing, singing some phrases with the backing vocals at the same time as the lead, and then replying.
Wait for you to stay now, stay now. Just one more time, I can deal with it.
Here for the one more time, I'm combining the backing vocals with the replies. It's also worth mentioning that you don't need a massive stack of vocals for your replies. You could just duplicate the lead vocal channel and sing some single line replies there and just play around with the processing of that. Maybe you just want a single vocal doing the reply, but you can put it a little more in the background with some reverb, cutting out some high end, maybe distorting it. Nothing is set on stone when it comes to vocal production or replies. You can just find whatever works for you and go with it. It's just the principle of call and response that I find really interesting for RnB vocal production. But you can go about it in any way. You could literally take a copy of what you sang in the lead vocal, put it in a little later, and just process it differently or something like that. It doesn't have to be a stack. I just happened to record a stack for this one. And by a stack, I mean a bunch of backing vocals together. That's what I felt this song was asking for, but it can literally be anything. And now the fun part, the reason why a lot of you are probably here, is creative effects with vocals. Using vocals to create all sorts of different sounds that can be used as ear candy in all sorts of ways. So I'm just gonna go through the whole song, and I'll tell you what I did for each of these vocal-based creative effects. So this is our intro. What I wanted to do was create like a little synthy environment that didn't feel like it was being played by keys all the time. More like textures in the air. So a really nice way to do that is with this basic idea of having a vocal chop, having a bunch of reverb on it, printing it out so that you have an audio file with a long reverb tail, and then you can reverse this file so it sounds like this vocal is appearing from the background with a lot of reverb. And you can use this to create all sorts of textures. It's like playing a synth with a really nice patch and a very long attack, but with a vocal sample. So you can distort it, you can add chorus to it, you can add delay, anything you want. Treat it like an instrument. So this first vocal has a lot of stuff going on. It's already a bounce file because I did a shit ton of processing to it before. So it's all about taking a vocal sample from any part of the lead vocal. You can just cut out any little section. I like to take vocal samples from long notes because they're usually sustained really well and don't have any consonants going on. There are always going to be vowels. This one was probably from a whoa or something like that. So I took the sample, put it in its own track, pitch shifted it up 1 octave, then distorted it with probably with Logic stock distortion, it's actually really nice to distort vocals. I like to apply distortion and then an EQ to cut out anything that you don't want from the distortion. If you put that distortion after the EQ, it's really hard to know what's going on there with the frequencies. And when you're designing sounds, you really want to have a good control of your frequencies. And finally, I just added some delay with H-Delay. It's one of my go-to delays. It's really nice. And I like to add delay and then reverb. And for these long vocal hits, I usually give the reverb a decay time of around 5 seconds. Then I just printed that into a new audio file. And then with Logic, I just added in this little pitch shift that has like a tape stop kind of feel. This is how it sounds. And after creating this vocal sample, it's now an effect that I can use in any part of the song. It can be used as transitions or hit or any sort of riser if you put it in reverse. For the second part of the intro, it's just the same vocal sample but reversed in a new track with some tremolo going on so that it's moving around a little. And I like using really fast rates because it gives like a really stuttery and like an LFO kind of feel when you're on a synth.
Caught again in my old ways, lonely.
And as you can see here, it's the same vocal sample from the beginning, but without the fade in. And the other vocal that's going on in the intro is this guy. Again, it's a different chop from the lead vocal, processed in a pretty similar way actually. Just Logic stock distortion, then Berserk distortion from Waves, super nice distortion. It was free for a while, I don't know if it still is, but it's a really nice distortion for processing vocals. Then an EQ, cutting out whatever I don't want, H-Delay, and reverb. And I'll show you the settings on these. I usually like ping pong on the delay, and I'll set the dry wet around here. I don't want too much of the wet signal. I just want it to show up a little in the background because I'm gonna be adding a reverb after this. And I have the feedback cranked really high because I want it to be like an evolving kind of sound that stays there for a couple bars and then starts again whenever the sample hits again. And then on the reverb, I can go a little crazy, like it's around 50%. You usually hear like, don't go above 40 or whatever, but like there's nothing set in stone, like I said. I want this to be an element in the background that's just creating a vibe without having too much attack. So mixing in that, giving it more reverb will help you cut down your attack a little and make it feel further away.
Caught again in my...
And this one right here is another sample from the lead vocal, doing a different melody, and this melody is a little higher. So I really liked it to be like the final little bit of the intro, and then go into the verse with a really nice conclusion to the intro.
Feels right sometimes, trying to make up my mind.
This guy here, low vocal. So you're just gonna cut the section that you want from the lead vocal, bring it to a new track, pitch shift it down with any pitch shifting tool, just bring it down an octave, use an EQ to cut out whatever you don't want, because the pitch shifters usually give them some artifacts and unwanted frequencies, so you wanna cut those out. Then I'm just compressing, using another EQ to give it a little more presence, and sending it to the same buses as the lead vocal.
Times trying to make up my mind. I know you're away for some time.
I'm gonna stop it there because there's some automation going on in the lead vocal. I have a couple sends going on from the lead vocal. One of them, the main one, is a plate by Lustrous Plates from the Slate All Access bundle. Really nice plates in this plugin. So I have a standard level of it going on all the time in the song, minus 17.5. But at certain points in the song, I want to give it a little more reverb, a little more of that send. So I'm just going to bring it up. It's usually on the tails of certain phrases, just the end of different phrases, to extend that, give it a little more sustain, and give it some contrast.
Trying to make up my mind. I know you're away for some time.
The reverb just appears in that moment, nice and exaggerated, then comes back down to the normal level.
It's crazy to say that you're mine.
Same thing here and here. I have the same thing going on, and I also automated a send to a delay bus.
But girl, I feel ya.
I'm using repeater for this delay from the Slate All Access bundle, and it's just a mono delay in this case, no ping pong going on, and I cut out a lot of the high end, just a quarter note mono delay.
Girl, I feel ya.
Same thing here with the automation, but there's a new sound coming in. It's a high vocal. Same thing as the low one, just instead of bringing it down an octave, take it up 1 octave. Same processing, maybe move the EQ around a little bit because the frequencies are going to change, but just use that setting. And the only vocal that has delay here is the lead, because I didn't want to get it too dirty, just when I had the lead repeating itself, and these being more like an accent. Here, same thing, the vocal chop that I used in the intro, and the reversed vocal shot with the reverb with some tremolo going on to give it that stuttery effect. A little vocal tonal hit for the beginning of the chorus. Just a sample from the lead vocal. I chose the note that I wanted it to start on, which is the tonic of the song. Distortion, distortion, EQ, a lot of delay, ping pong, a lot of feedback. Dry wet balance is pretty high, and 52% wet reverb with an 8-second decay time. Same vocal as the intro here, the reversed one with the tremolo. I just wanted to have a little transition effect to go into the second repetition of the chorus, where it changes a little bit. And to finalize the chorus and go well into the second verse, I used the same vocal hit from the intro. And the reverb automations that are going on with the lead vocal in the chorus are going to a second reverb bus, which is a hall in vintage verb. With the 80s color going on, 3-second decay time, and a little bit of pre-delay. I wanted to have a second reverb because I feel like a hall gives it a bit of a bigger and more epic space for a section like the chorus. It's really nice to make the vocal feel like it's in different spaces at different times. So using 2 different types of reverbs can be a really nice way of giving it that contrast. In this hall reverb, it's the same as in the plate. I just have a standard setting going on. This one is of -17 dB. And then I'm just doing some throws in different phrases. And then I'm just bringing that level up for different phrases.
Just one more time, I can deal with it. Girl, you're gone and I'm feeling it.
You get the idea. Just choose different phrases that are nice and melodic, nice and memorable. Throw them to the reverb, and you're going to make them feel super epic. And finally, the icing on the cupcake for this chorus is bringing back the low vocal and the high vocal with the distortion. So it first starts off with just a high vocal, and then the low vocal comes in for this last phrase. Here's what all the vocals sound like for that last section of the chorus.
One more time now, whoa, whoa.
So as you can see, vocal production can really bring life to an R&B track. This is actually a pretty minimalistic R&B track in terms of instrumentation. There's not a lot going on. There's just a sample, an electric piano, bass, drums, some percussion, and some guitars going on. And the guitars are pretty simple. So it's not a very complicated arrangement or instrumentation, but we have around 28 vocal tracks going on, each doing its own thing, especially in the vocal effects, that can really elevate the quality of a song without having to make the beat too complicated. Because a lot of times when it comes to beats, less is more, especially in styles where you want to keep it simple, keep it chill, like R&B. A lot of beats are just a really cool sequence of 8 to 16 bars, repeated with some new elements added in and all that stuff. So it's taking a short sequence that's super groovy, super vibey, and then just playing on top of that with stuff like vocals and different types of ear candy.
All right, friends, that's it for today. I know it was a long one and we covered a lot of stuff, but I hope this was useful, and I'll see you next time.